Bro, the title and the thumbnail, it is a dangerous one I just put out there. Instead of fighting the injustices of this world, I'm gonna go fight against an even bigger threat. Seinen manga fans. Yep, you read the title correctly. It's really unfortunate because the content surrounding these stories, the reels, the video essays, the philosophy videos, I really enjoyed every single one of them. The classic video by Amdanjo, I really enjoyed watching all of these, and I thought reading these stories would give me a similar level of enjoyment, or at least I'd be able to connect with the story. But after reading through these stories, I don't think I have. And I'm sorry to say it to the manga fans, but I just don't connect with the stories at all. Okay, at all is a stretch because I do connect it to some degree. But without much further ado, let's talk about the first one. Vagabond is a story about Shimen Takezo, aka Miyamoto Musashi, who after the War of Sekigahara, goes on a journey to find out what it means to be the strongest under the sun. Along the way, he meets various characters that have an impact on him and helps him understand what it means to be the strongest under the sun. The last time I read Vagabond, it was way back in 2020 when COVID was still a thing, when we were still wearing masks, and everyone had a lethal face card. It's been 6 years since I read the story, and I haven't really reread the story recently, so I may forget a plot point or two. So forgive me for that. But the main issues I have with the story is Miyamoto's character development. One of the things that really pissed me off, or rather really make me not be able to relate to Miyamoto, was how he kept on making the same mistakes again and again. Even though there were characters telling him that killing people won't bring him strength, like the monk here, he still kept on doing it again and again. And I think characters making the same mistakes again and again until they realize and learn the right lesson, I think that's important. I think that's realistic. But I think in terms of story-wise, I couldn't appreciate, or I couldn't get why he didn't understand after making the nth mistake of the same kind. And right now, you'd think that I just don't like seinen mangas in general. No, I actually do love him. Vinland Saga. I think Vinland Saga is an absolute masterpiece, but I think the reason why I really love Vinland Saga was because it was an anime, and me personally, I've always loved anime way more than mangas. But regardless, I was really enthralled by Vinland Saga's story, and I think Thorfinn making the same mistake again and again up until half of second season, it was much more understanding, much more believable, because he didn't really have anyone telling him what the right path was. While Miyamoto, on the other hand, he would have people as in just a monk, or maybe I'm missing some characters, I'm not sure, but he did have that monk come into his journey time and again telling him what the right thing was, and he just couldn't grasp it. And I read Vagabond till chapter 150, and from what I remember, Miyamoto still hasn't reached that point of realization yet. He still hasn't had that farmland arc. And I think if I stuck with it through, I think if I read the story slower, if I took my time appreciating the journey, I think I would have loved the story way more than I do right now. But right now, this is my current opinion. I think Vagabond was decent. I'm sorry, but I just couldn't get it at all. But in all the other aspects of Vagabond, it is absolutely amazing. I mean, have you seen the art? It makes me want to shed tears between my legs. And Matahashi's character arc, he is annoying. Oh my god, he is an absolute annoying piece of shit. But his struggles are much more understandable. As annoying as I felt reading what he was going through, I could understand why he was going through what he was going through. I could relate way better than I could ever relate to Miyamoto Musashi. And the character arcs other characters go through, I think those are actually really good. It leaves me feeling satisfied. But Miyamoto Musashi's character arc is the one that hasn't left me feeling satisfied at all, not even once. But if you guys want me to reevaluate Vagabond, then do comment on that. Would love to know your thoughts on it. Now let's go to the second one. Fire Punch is a story about these two siblings that are living in a world where there is perpetual coldness, where there is no heat for them to warm, and the planet is nearing its end, where certain individuals are blessed with power, some of which have regenerative properties, and our main character Agni has that same regenerative superpower. He uses that power to feed a dying village for weeks on end, all because this infinite and perpetual coldness led to a shortage of food around fire on the world. And this is Agni and his sister. By the way, sister loves him. Like Oroimo type shit. Fire Punch fans when their sister gets mentioned. But things take a quick turn when this general with fire powers enters the scene and burns the entire village because he thinks cannibalism is bad. I mean, does it really matter what's wrong and right if the world is ending? Maybe a philosophical question Fire Punch is trying to ask us. Anyway, going on to the next point. The thing about his power is that once his fire touches somebody, that fire will keep on burning until the person is dead. And so after the village died and Agni and Luna was both under the fire, just as Agni was gonna accept his death, Luna told him to live on. Agni, being the Giga Chad that he is, decides to push through the pain and continue regenerating his body regardless of if the fire withers or not. And unfortunately, the fire does not wither. And after 8 years, Agni finally healed up. He decides to finally go and kill the fire guy that put him in this position in the first place. And throughout the journey, he meets many people that some of which look up to him. They even worship him like he's a god. But let me remind you, this story is not about a good man doing good things. Because what the fuck? This is a story about an individual who's learning to just survive in the best way that he can. The thing that I couldn't really connect with Fire Punch was the main theme itself. I couldn't understand what the author was trying to say by making Agni go through all that, by making all the important characters tell him to live on regardless of the pain that he was in. And I thought it was building it up. I thought the story was building up to that answer slowly but surely. I was all for it. I was sitting there, I was enjoying the ride, I was connecting. But then later on, the kind of ending Agni got was a very mixed feeling I had. It wasn't happy, it wasn't sad, but it was definitely along the lines of tragic. Tragic endings are great, I love those, but the way the story was unfolding and the way the story ended, it didn't feel satisfying to me. Because I still don't get the point of all the characters telling him to live on. For me, when I say that I didn't feel satisfied, it doesn't mean I wanted Agni to have a happy ever after or something like that. What I mean by a satisfying ending is something like Togata's ending, the transgender character. At the end of her life, Togata has gone through a major character arc and she may not have had the best ending, but she was one step closer to be able to accept herself, one step closer to feeling fulfilled with the life she had. And right after she had that kind of character development, she gets burned to death. Yes, I can see some people not being satisfied with that, but to me, because she had that moment of realization, that sort of enlightenment she had for her life, I personally thought that Togata is an example of a character writing where you can feel satisfied for the way the character is fleshed out, even if the character isn't alive by the end of the story. And in Agni's case, I didn't feel that at all. I didn't feel like Agni had that moment of realization or that enlightenment or that inner peace that I was hoping Agni would get. Because at the end of it all, Agni died. The body lived, but his memories, his personality, the soul of Agni died when the fake Luna decided to erase his memories for good. And I think that's the point where I didn't feel satisfied with the way the story went. But overall, I loved Fire Punch. I think the way it landed was a little bit hazy, but I think Fire Punch is a must read if you haven't read the story. Now on to the next manga. The story follows Buntaro, who's a rock climber who tried to compete at a national level, but then after the first author left, the story has shifted from a high school story to an adult story where Buntaro doesn't just have a passion for climbing, he lives for it too. You can see that as the story does a time skip after major character death, and then you can see Buntaro working jobs to job just so he can earn enough to climb mountains that have never been climbed before. Not because he wants recognition, not because he wants the money, all because that's what brings him joy. The story behind the Climber manga is actually very interesting because there were two authors that took over the writing of this story. The first author wrote up to the first 2 volumes, but the main guy, the reason why the manga manga is considered a cult classic was the illustrator of the series, Shinichi Sakamoto. He was the one who took over the writing duties and later became the primary author of The Climber. And you can truly see that because in the first 30 or so chapters, you can see that the manga felt very shonen, very sports shonen like story. Straight up felt like something out of Haikyuu. Most people didn't like it, but me personally, I was enjoying it. As the story progressed, you can tell that there was a shift in tone, especially after one of the major character deaths. As the story progressed, I started finding difficulty in relating to Buntaro. Maybe it was the writing choice the author decided to do, or maybe it was the kind of character arc that Buntaro was going through. I do not know what it is, but I started finding difficulty in relating and understanding Buntaro's character. Yeah, I don't really have the right words, nor do I have the proper reasons to articulate why I couldn't gel with the story of Climber, but if I were to say in one sentence, the vibes were just not vibing, man. The vibes were just not vibing, and sometimes it's difficult to describe in words what the vibes are, but to me right now, I feel like Vagabond, The Climber, I just couldn't vibe with it. Fire Punch, I could, at least 80% of the story, that was until the end, but I think the story and I just didn't vibe at the right frequency. Whoa, pause. But if you enjoy watching this video, subscribe, do like, share, comment, and tell me what you think about this whole video. Until next time, see ya.